Well, it's the fourth week of the LCS with coverage brought to you by Alienware. I'm joined right now by Vulcan from Cloud9 to talk about how things are going here on the first day for Cloud9 and also some fun social media interactions he's had recently. Vulcan, thanks so much for catching up with me. How are things with C9 so far? Because you are now we're over halfway into the split, which is crazy to say in week 4. But how happy are you with how the team is doing ahead of playoffs in just a couple weeks?
I'm pretty happy. I think we're progressing pretty well, and we're kind of expanding our champion pool and experimenting with different styles like playing through top lane, ball lane, and stuff like that. And we obviously want to be a team that can be very versatile. So I like that we're experimenting a little bit. And yeah, obviously we're in first place, so it feels good to be here. But we did lose to Team Liquid last week, which was a pretty big loss, and it feels bad to lose to them, especially given the rivalry in the past few years. So that's disappointing, but overall, like, we're pretty satisfied with the way things are going right now.
One of the things that was interesting to me was this LCS cycle of suck or circle of suck that was posted to Reddit that pointed out that in just a very short time, every team, you could make a circle out of all the teams that have lost to each other. It made me think a lot about last spring, where you guys were just wrecking and it seems so far distant. So how different does the LCS feel this spring? And is it a situation where like everyone sucks, or is it a situation where actually the league is relatively good and everybody's, taking games off each other that way?
I think the top tier teams are stronger this year than last year. I think, I don't know if I'd say that we're better than we were last year. I mean, obviously, I think we kind of had the meta downloaded last year, and we like all were very comfortable with the strong champs, so we were able to dominate. But the teams below us kind of suck compared to, I think right now, EG is pretty good. We haven't beaten them yet on stage, right? TL is good, even though the record might show otherwise. They're pretty good. TSM is looking at much stronger now than they did a couple of weeks ago. 100 Thieves obviously is a very strong team, and they kind of came off the gate swinging, So yeah, all these teams are pretty good, and they're giving us, an actual challenge compared to last year where we could just kind of roll through everyone. And yeah, I think the league is just stronger right now. But I'd say maybe the bottom teams are worse than last year potentially, with all the rookie squads coming in. And yeah, so I think the top teams are better. The bottom teams may be weaker than last year.
Okay. Well, with assuming that Riot is able to make MSI happen this year, how hungry are you for that event, especially given what happened last year? Because obviously everybody wants it when Spring and Go, but I assume it might be really nice for Cloud9 to be able to attend, given that you weren't able to last year.
Yeah, I mean, I personally really want to go to MSI because we do feel kind of robbed from our international tournament last year. Well, both, I guess. We robbed ourselves in the second one, but yeah. Yeah, so we all really want to go. I know Luca obviously wants to prove that he can elevate any team and be able to compete with the top international teams, and that's always been a goal of mine to show that we can be competitive. So yeah, it would be really nice, really nice to go to MSI.
It would be crazy if, after so many people were wondering, like, oh, what would a G2 C9 matchup look like last spring, and people were hyped about it, it ends up happening this year with Perks on C9. I think that would be quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so I do want to also ask you about how things have been for you this past week or so. I assume that when you made that tweet, that you did not anticipate that so much would spawn out of it. So maybe you can give me a little bit about where your mentality was and thought process was when you made the tweet.
Yeah, I mean, I was just seeing a lot of pretty much your videos highlighting the opinions of owners about the import rule or like the restrictions with the imports, and I felt like the owners were prioritizing like the wrong thing and wanting to import more players and basically saying like we don't have any talent, and that's the main reason why we're unable to compete. But in my head, there are more pressing issues, and those are kind of the things that we should focus on now instead of demanding like more imports. I feel like the owners should demand that we have better solo queue environment, and we don't play on 50 or 60 ping the whole year. And in my mind, that's one of the main reasons why people come over here and they look worse than they did in their own regions, because the practice is so much worse. And obviously you can't do much about the player base being smaller and the level of the solo queue being lower. But I'm sure the ping is a problem that can be solved. And I think the point that Double Diff brought up last year about I think he said if you have like 6 players or the majority of your players in your game are on the West Coast, then you just play on a server that's in LA, right?
Right.
And then in IELO, if you have a game full of pros, then you're still playing on a, like, I don't know, mid or East Coast, like Chicago server, and you're all playing on 60 pings while you're all like basically in the same city, and it doesn't make much sense, right? So in my head, like those kind of things are things that should be solved before we think about importing more players.
Okay, so then you made the tweet, and then a team owner for TSM ends up replying, and ends up kind of getting dogged on. But what was your reaction when you saw the tweet come him? Because I think you kind of played it off like a joke in your reply, and sort of spawned this McDonald's thing. So what was your reaction when you saw that, and how did you decide to reply, etc.?
I mean, I was kind of, I don't know, surprised. I was like, what the hell? How can you say this to me? Like, it was a bit crazy at first, and then I wanted to come up with a reply to him because I wanted to prove or like show how ridiculous it was of an answer to say to me. And I felt like it was kind of crazy that he would say that, given the amount of times he tried to sign me or tried to poach me. So in my mind, that was a bit insane that I would say like I'd be out of the job. I don't know. So I had to reply, and then when he made his tweet, I felt like I had to ratio in some way, and it just had to be done. So
the ratio had to be done was your mentality.
Exactly.
I do have to ask for clarification, just because. But you mentioned poaching. I assume you mean like he tried to trade. It wasn't a situation where he was actively tampering or violating Riot rules with poaching, right? Because there's like a rule around that.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Trading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He's now since come out and said that he reached out and apologized to you. So I don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to demand answers on what that apology looked like, but how are things between the two of you? And especially, a lot of people don't seem to buy the idea that he was talking about league minimum, and he says that he was not talking about minimum wage. A lot of us do talk about league minimum behind the scenes, so maybe that's some of it. But I don't know what your stance is on sort of his statement that like, oh, I didn't mean minimum wage, etc.
I'm not sure, because he did say that I would be out of the job, right? And then I've paid minimum, so it's like he's contradicting himself in the tweets, and even in the first one only, I think he's like kind of contradicting himself. I'm out of the job, but also making minimum, so I'm not sure what he means, but I didn't take it too personally. I think it's just Twitter, right? And he did apologize to me and told me good luck on the season, right? I'm like, okay, no worries, like it happens. I just told him I thought you kind of you wrote in the aggressive manner, and I didn't take it personal, so it's fine. I don't know, like his tweet wasn't really an apology. I don't care if he's apologizing or not. Like, obviously I didn't take it personally. There's, in my mind, not much to apologize for. But as an owner, I think he should show better manners. Not manners, I don't know, show
composure, better composure.
Right. Yeah. Not attack me in a way like the way he did, but it's fine.
Do you have any, and I know we're kind of running up on time here, but do you have any thoughts on the situation for players? Because obviously a lot of the owners have come out and said something like this. I've seen sort of different levels of passion for the players on this, or concern. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on sort of the situation for players in this, how much conversation should be there, if you're hearing anything about the players all working together on this, or I don't know.
No, I haven't heard anything like that, but to me, it's pretty concerning for any players. I think if I was an academy in a world where there were no import restrictions, I feel like I would have never gotten a chance to prove myself, right? And that's, even though like all the owners are saying they're going to invest in any talent, like maybe there will be a rule where academy can only be any talent. I feel like they won't get a shot if you have a full Korean speaking roster. They won't go and get someone who can't speak Korean, right? So these players will be like so developed in academy that they'll never see the lights on stage. And I'm not worried about myself too much, because I feel like I can get a job on either an NA team, or I'm sure some LSC teams will want me, hopefully. But I'm more worried about up-and-coming players who won't get a shot given to them because it's not worth it, right, in the owner's eyes. So to me, that's the main concern.
Well, I do really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about all this stuff, and hopefully our next interview is more just about Cloud9 winning and beating a bunch of people or something like that. But I do appreciate the time. Is there anything you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Thanks for cheering for us, as usual. We all appreciate it, and we'll reach our final form and beat everyone soon. So,
very good. Well, hopefully you'll be eating McDonald's at MSI in just a couple of months, Vulcan. Thank you again so much for the interview. And for everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things LCS right here on my YouTube channel. You know, I've seen a lot of people comment on the length of my hair and beard recently. I think I've even done an outro about it previously. I just want to say I appreciate all the kind words. And if you would like to support the continued growth of this hair, I can tell you that you supporting Alienware by checking out their stuff by going to alienware.com/Travis, link in the description. Travis10 off is the code that you can use to save 10% off your order. That my hair will continue to grow. And we'll just see how much like a marooned individual I end up becoming. So good, I guess do that if you want. I mean, if you don't, then I would still like it if you appreciated what Alienware does for me and check them out.